Welcome to the 3D printed wall art mini-series. In this video we will go through some basics in BambuStudio. There are too many settings to go through all of them, but I'll show you how to import models, how to start sending them to the printer, and I'll also give you a look into my prototyping steps, going back and forth between Blender and BambuStudio. Now let's take a look at BambuStudio and how we can import those files. I'm going to create a new project. Now we get to our fresh and empty build plate or print bed. So there are a couple of options that you can do this. I like to do it in the top here. Just click the add button, Ctrl I think, insert. And then we can select all of our pieces at once. When you hit open, it will ask you load these files as a single object with multiple parts. Say no, because they're all separate objects. And now we can add some build plate. So let's do 3, because we first have to deselect everything. We'll start throwing arrows right away because things are stacked on top of each other. And then we have this one as well. And basically the center, as you can see for these STLs, even though those are separate pieces, they hold their position that they get in the world in Blender. So if they align nicely there, they will also align nicely here as well. Now this centerpiece, if we're going to print single pieces, Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste, and you can put these on a separate print bed. So we have our round ripple design, which fits on a single print bed, and we have our, these are the geometric waves. You might also have the vortex here, but we have those on the print bed as well. And it fits barely. But that was the whole idea, so that's good. Now we can take a look at slicing the pieces, and if there are things we want to change to make it more print friendly, or things that just don't slice well or don't look nicely in our final sliced part. Let's take a look at this one first. It's throwing some arrows already, so see what that's about. We can click this. That's just calculating. Yeah, don't see any arrows here. Okay. So if we take a look at this one, this will now cost 12 hours to print and 400 grams of filament. We can also check our layers, as we went with 2 layers for everything that's embedded in the bottom layers. We can hit the arrow keys to go up, second layer and then third layer. Everything's covered nicely, just as expected. So for this, our watermark and the numbering are all looking good. No issues there. We just have to see and hope that these tiny pieces of text, depending on your name or watermark. Normally I would make some sort of a logo that avoids these shapes. But as you can see, this will be a single filament line. So that might get loose, or when there's no good adhesion and it will print around it, or with a tiny plastic string it will drag it away. There's now a 9 times chance for that to happen, so I would try to avoid those, or increase the name in the font, or maybe even that middle part if your name is sort of recognizable for your brand or watermark. That should be plenty. I have a logo that I use that is more straightforward without any special small artifacts in there. And as you can see as well, if we look at it like this, this is how the numbers will be printed. So it looks a bit weird looking at it from this angle, but it's totally fine when you have the pieces flipped around in your hand and you want to place them down. And now we can check. And as you can see, it tries to fill everything with filament because we have the infill enabled. And what I noticed and what I also aim for is to use as little filament as possible, but still provide a nice outside effect. So we don't want to compromise on the looks, but we also have to remind that it will be on the wall, probably glued together, so it doesn't really need outside strength. So that's why my main setting for these types of things are with 2 wall loops and, if possible, 0 infill. So we can slice this plate again and see what it does. Now we have a little bit of an issue here, because this is where it will not go well if you try to print this. As you can see on these layers, the first 20 or so are just empty voids. There's nothing there, there's no support, there's nothing. So the layers that will be placed on top of that, these layers that are fully covered, they only have to do it with the bridging. And I can tell you from experience that won't go well. Might work, but it will just lack the strength in the end. And as we go up again, this should all be fine because it'll smooth layers all the way to the top. So the issue on this print will be filling up this area, and we don't have to fill the rest. And even these layers, it created them itself in the slicing software to provide support for the next parts. So if we take a look here, we can add infill if we use grid infill. This will add quite a bit of infill, but it's better than before. As you can see, it's not fully filled anymore in these layers, but now we have a lot of grid infill to play with. So we can go lower on the grid infill, so it only supports these internal lines, because it's there to support these from our grid pattern that's above that. If we go to lightning, this lightning pattern is something that supports top layers. So it should see those grid layers like, what do you call it? It's like a floating top layer that it has to fix. So as you can see, we are now at 250 grams of filament. So that's a lot better already. So even changing from grid to lightning, that saved us 60 grams of filament. Now if we put it back on lightning, because this wasn't enough, so let's say 25, and we slice it again. Now we're at 260 grams of filament. You really have to set your mind to the lightning infill, because it works differently as grid infill. So there's only 9 gram increase, but if we take a look now, it will only support those parts underneath the grid lines. And when we go to the top, there are some small artifacts that are being filled, where there's some slopes and so on, but it's a minimal amount of filament. So we can even go more crazy. We can say like 50 gram of percent. See what that does. Because for the lightning infill, it will only get more condensed on the places where you need it. So if you still have issues with like 20% lightning infill for these bottom grids to be sturdy enough, you can just increase it a little. It will get more support from the surrounding areas. And we went 6 grams up again. So we're still not near that other one with like 5% of grid infill. So this is what I also use for the Copper Vortex, the V2. It's a really nice infill function pattern to use for these types of problems, I call them. Let's put it at 25. I think that's enough. You can save a little bit of filament there, so let's do that. And as for the wave pattern or the vortex pattern, everything looks fine. We are now also to 8 hours. So 8 hours and 260 grams of filament. And this looks like a nice and printable file to me. That shouldn't provide you any issues. And you even have the space in between all the parts. And there's one more thing that I can show you. If you want to, for example, scale this up, you are now limited to the print bed. You can go to Prepare, select the part, right-click, split it to Objects. And now you can move the individual pieces. M for move works as well. But it shouldn't have any issues printing these as they are, because they overlap, nothing intersects, nothing crosses each other, as you could have probably seen with the mini vortex, which had this same construction method as well. That's how you can also split larger things into smaller objects if you want to split them over multiple build plates or scale them up. Now let's head over to the Ripple. You just have to keep in mind that we put multiple projects into BambuStudio now in this file. So if I change something about the infill settings, this will also apply to the other print beds. That would normally not be the case. So let's take a look what's going on here. Weirdly enough, this might even be printable. As you can see, we have the watermark visible on only one piece, and that's because I didn't show the array modifier on the watermark when I create this as a single piece in the STL. But for example, if we want to try something now, or we have something like, this is too close, I want to change it, we can easily switch now between Blender. So we go back to Blender, put everything visible, like the watermark. I can also say watermark, make it visible. This watermark is a lot deeper than the other one. We will see that as well in the slicing. So if we take a look now, we go to here, we want to A, and then I want to move everything on the X-axis. As you can see, everything will just move from that center because we're still on the 3D cursor pivot point. So this shouldn't do anything on rotations and tilt things that we don't want to tilt. It's just we move it a little bit from the center, and now we can export this again. I tap out, it will calculate all these watermarks and so on again. So it might be a little bit tough on your computer as well, but you can easily disable it here and fit to the parted out function. It will give the same results. Just print that single part 36 times. If we export this again, STL, and this is the geometric ripple tool, and it remembered all our settings. I don't know if it remembers that if you close and open Blender again the next day. Selection only, scale 10, apply modifiers. And then we select file with the same name. And we go back to BambuStudio, go back to Prepare, and we can see this happen right away. So if we right click and then reload from disk, or you can even replace it with another STL, but we can reload from disk and it loads everything on the same spot in the same file. Let's not move it. So as you can see, everything's plotted out just a little bit more, so we have less chance of it interfering when printing. And we added our watermark to every piece. So if we slice it now, we can check all of our layers and how everything looks. This takes a while to calculate because it's a lot of different parts and G-code. And we still have the lightning infill. And as you can see as well here, if we take a look at how this builds up, or I will show you on the single part. Let's see, second build plate. We can see a little bit better over here because all the settings are the same between the parts and the files. As you can see in both these pieces, it also uses that lightning infill to just help the top get some support where it needs it. Because especially for these parts, they are tricky because they have normally large overhanging surfaces. And for this print, it's now like 8 grams. If we put a 5% or 10% grid infill or something else, you're already at 9 grams. That's quite a significant increase for such a little amount. And we can even check it on this one. So this is 272 grams and 9 hours. So this will print fine. It could be more efficient, I think. And then we go to 25% lightning, slice it again. We add 272 and we get to 230 and 8.5 hours. So less print time, less filament, and it has everything that we need and is more than strong enough for its purpose. So this is also how you can do some quick prototyping and changing stuff and figuring things out. Now, because this is on one print plate, this one we can I always have a little bit of an issue getting used to BambuStudio after using Blender for a couple of hours. I just try to use the same mouse turns and whatever, and I just get flipping all the print beds around. So that might happen more than once. So the nice thing about these parts is control. You can select multiple. We can scale these up. This one, scale, say 150 or even 200. Now, if we have our 25 centimeter normal part and we get to 200 now, for rotate, I don't know if this one will fit on the print bed, but we'll find out soon enough. As you can see, we can now print a piece that's about 22 centimeters, and this one will be increased and that one will be increased as well. So now you have a wall art piece that's almost 50 centimeters in diameter. The only thing for this is if you start slicing this, it will have smoother curves because it's a lot larger and there are a lot more layers. And also with the lightning infill, 77 grams, not bad, 2 hours. So you would have to print this 36 times and you have a 2 times as large round wall art piece. So that's a bit how I work with my scaling and the walls and the infill on my pieces. My preference would go to scaling your design up in Blender, but this should give you a nice base to start from. Okay, let's delete these 2 parts. Just to make sure that we have original parts, we'll use Ctrl I now, just the same as above here, and you can also use, I think, file import, and then you can select files as well. So 3 options to get your STLs. I think you can even drag them into it, so maybe 4. So we have the ripple in the center, open those again, single object. So just okay. Now if we slice this, for example, let's take a look, and we want to do some prototyping, and we see this is a little bit white and it doesn't look as good as the other waves. So let's get back to Blender. Then for this one we need to hide the array, otherwise we have everything in it. I'm going to tap into our design, and we can see it's the second or third wave. So we might want to bump those lines a little bit. I'm going to hit 3 and then try to find the top one. Should be this one. That's too much. Alt-C, deselect those. Now we have what we want. Proportional editing, GZ. Just tiny bump up, and save this file, tap out of it, file, export STL. I already have it selected, and this is the ripple in a single piece, export, and we go to prepare, reload from disk, and we should see a tiny change here. A tiny bump might just make the difference. As you can see, it's a lot smaller now than before. Now for this piece, it's fixed. For the other piece, or for the large one, you still have to export it. But as you can see, this large piece is now a lot smaller on this one. So that's how you can quickly export your STLs, prototype, and update it in BambuStudio. Really see and take a look at how things will be sliced. So that's how I go back and forth after making changes. And also, if we can see here, this watermark, it has these parts with the single line for the letters again, and even if they are 1 or 2 layers thick, I already find them a hassle, so this is going to create this small tower on the bottom. I don't like that, so let's change that real quick. Back to Blender. Let's see how it looks here. Oh, we don't even, because we can see how far we want. Alt-C, GZ. So this is about 25 millimeters, and we need 0.4, so minus 0.21. It should give us 2 layers of 0.2 millimeters, if I'm correct. We'll see that soon enough. So select it. I just hit Ctrl S to save the file, just to have it. Export the STL, ripple, export, then prepare, reload from disk, and you already saw it happen. So now we have the same 2 layers as on our grid patterned wave or vortex design. So that's how I do prototyping, that's how I do changes, and I just check every small millimeter, centimeter, inch, whatever measurement you work with. I check everything on the design, and if I think it won't print nicely, I will check it and change it. So that's how I can spend hours going back and forth as well. And now there's one more thing that I want to show you about prototyping. If you're not sure about parts interconnecting and certain pieces fitting together, you can always test it out first. So I'll move this one for a moment. Because for example, we have this center here that should interlock nicely, and in Blender it looks fine, slicer it looks fine, but you never know until you really print it, especially with more intricate interconnecting pieces that to snap together to prevent gaps in your design, or they just have to fit snugly. So if we take a look at this, we can also go to prepare. Now we might want to merge these. So now we have a single object, and what we can do, we can add a negative part, and let's take a cube. Okay, we'll place it here, and we can scale this cube. Okay, I think it has to be on the print bed. And we can, okay, cube, move it around to this side. So basically we only have this center, it's a bit hard to see. So you only have the center left. So if we slice this, those are the only pieces it would print. It just canceled out all the rest. So that's how you can also prototype to just print the pieces that you want. So that way you can save on filament, save on time, because that's mostly what prototyping is just making efficient use of your time and filament to avoid larger mistakes or problems later on. So the smaller you can make them and the smaller you can make your tests, the better it is. So that's just a little thing about prototyping as well. So I print with my BambuLab P1S with a smooth base plate. Print almost everything with the 0.4 diameter nozzle, standard flow, and a 0.2 millimeter standard profile. As for supports, we don't need it on these parts. Others, nothing really needed. And the quality standard, I haven't had any issues, and I generally don't need to change more than we did now. You can also look at individual parts. If, for example, you have this round piece here and you want a different infill, you can go to the object. And even here, you can customize one plate only. Filament sequence, you can all make it plate or object individual. I like to keep it as simple as possible, back to that KISS principle, not too many strange settings and things to mess around with. So that should give you a nice quick look at my settings that I normally use. And the same with BambuStudio, don't forget to save your file so you can save the project. And I generally do it in the same folder with the same name as the design. But we have multiple projects in this one. I would recommend doing a single file for each project. So put your square grid project in a different one as the ripple. And also for sharing your files later, it's important to have a dedicated file per project. So we can save that. That will be it for this video. Your model is now ready for printing. I'll talk more about printing and assembly in the next video. I'll see you there.